Robert Reynolds, middle of CRS 2011 here on DRTV, and I'm catching up with Sarah Darling. Sarah, how darling?
How are you?
I'm good.
Darling.
Darling, how are you? Hey, you know, looking at these, you always get these little kind of one-sheet glimpses of an artist. It certainly doesn't tell everything, and I think the personality will. But man, you're coming off some really unique highs. I mean, Carnegie Hall, right?
I played Carnegie Hall this past December, and it's an amazing story how I got to Carnegie Hall. This gentleman who lived in England had me sing some of his demos for the last couple years, and right before Carnegie Hall, he actually asked me if I would join in Carnegie Hall and play, and so I got to play this amazing hall because of this gentleman named Andrew White who lives in England. So it makes you really think about how music can really reach people from all over the world.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm glad you pointed that out. I have spent a lot of time in England and parts of Europe as well, and I believe that music does that. It reaches internationally by the sheer nature of what it communicates.
It really does. It's like our universal language. I mean, it really is. I know people talk about that, but music, you know, it doesn't matter if where you are in the world. Music speaks to everybody.
I agree, and I'm glad that we're having this conversation. And then it brings me around to last Saturday night. You played a very legendary stage of a different order.
Ever since I was little, my grandpa, I remember driving with him in his pickup truck. He's who introduced me to country music in the first place. And one of his big things, you know, is I want to see you play the Grand Ole Opry. And for me, the other night, my grandfather's been struggling with health problems off and on, and he was in the audience. It was one of those moments that, for me, is priceless. Vince Gill introduced me. He also sang a song with me called Bad Habit that I wrote, and he also sang it on my album. So it was one of those Cinderella moments for me. It really was. And I'll never forget it. It was incredible.
Wow, I sense, I can feel that from you right now, and it's nice. I mean, a very genuine glow from that experience coming from you now. I love that you mentioned your granddad, as I grew up real close with my grandparents, and they were very influential, and I got to share a lot of my career with my grandmother, but my grandfather passed away just before we signed our record deal. So I know what it must have felt like to give that to your granddad.
It's like giving them something that they've always wanted to see, you know. Yeah. And anyway, it'll make me cry just thinking about it. But I think it's just special, you know. I mean, I can understand you want your family to experience these special moments that you only get one time. I mean, I'll hopefully they invited me to come back to the Opry, but you know, that first time you just want to make sure that your folks and grandparents get to see these great things that happen for you.
Yeah, I agree. That's the experience is made better by who's sharing it with you. So let's talk about, you've got a record out called Angels and Devils, and the single's called Something to Do with Your Hands, right?
Yes, it is. I wrote it with Jason Deere, and it's to all those ladies out there that want a little attention from their guy, you know, just you know, because people work and life gets crazy, and it's just, you know, paying attention to each other. And I had so much fun shooting the video. We have a pro wrestler who made an appearance in the video. His name's AJ Styles. So it's been so much fun. The video's kind of been exploding, which is great.
Well, I feel really blessed. You know, your publicist is doing a great job, and folks watching may not know what goes on behind the scenes of our industry, but they came up and said, "Would you catch up with Sarah?" And I said, I'd be honored to. It was just a pleasure to grab you because, I mean, you're moving at a pretty brisk pace right now, and I get this feeling that there are huge things coming. I think I'll be lucky to see you next year. You'll be very in demand.
Well, I'm having like those, you know, oh my gosh moments right now, which is really cool. And, you know, it's times like right now that I just really am enjoying the process of meeting people like you, and here at CRS, it's great, and next year it'll be even more fun because we can all meet up again and
share the year.
Yeah, share the next year with all the other great things.
That's great. Well, I want to tell folks where they can find you online. We'll have you featured heavily on DR, but where else can they find Sarah Darling?
SarahDarling.com, Facebook. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at SDarling7777.
All right, awesome. And reminding people to call your radio stations and give this music a listen and a chance. I think you'll appreciate something to do with your hands, and then the record Angels and Devils, which I'm sure you can find everywhere that fine records are sold.
Yes, Best Buy, Amazon, iTunes, you can find it anywhere. And you get 2 sides, you get 2 discs, you get an acoustic side as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Great.
it's just something different we're giving to fans.
That's fantastic. Well, I feel like I really met somebody that's moving briskly through this
thank
this
you
business.
So much. Nice to meet you.
Sarah, nice to meet you too.
Yeah.